Hey everybody, it's finally Friday. And you know what that means? That means I'm on Facebook answering your questions for you. If you asked a question in my inbox and used the hashtag KatieFAQ or made it really short and concise and were like, hey Katie, this is my question, then I'm answering it. So without further ado, my first question is, I struggle with anxiety and self-harm and I'm going to a therapist about it. She's put me on Prozac and uses the word depressed a lot when talking to me, but actually hasn't stated that I am depressed or what disorders I have. This causes me a lot of stress not knowing exactly what's wrong. How do I go about asking her for a definitive diagnosis? Now, honestly, you can just ask. Oftentimes as a therapist, we don't want to label our patients. I don't want you to come in and be like, well, I feel that you're struggling with this, and this is why. We don't really do that. It just gives us more of a guidance on what to work with you on. And we may talk to you about that, like, hey, it sounds like this is what you're kind of struggling with. Is this something that you would want to work on? And so it will give us like a treatment plan, but we won't necessarily say I'm diagnosing you as, with major depressive disorder unless we feel like it's something that you need to know or you're going into a hospital or inpatient. Oftentimes they'll go through your file with you at that point, but it's your file, it's your chart. And I would encourage you, if it's something that's important to you, and it sounds like it is because you really would like to know exactly what you're struggling with, then I would say something. I would just ask. I would say, you use the term depressed a lot, and I know myself that I feel down quite often. I'm just curious, have you diagnosed me with major depression? I say, I'd like to know the exact diagnosis. It helps me to have a name to put to it. And they'll understand. You can talk about it and you can talk it out because it's your information, right? It's your chart, and we oftentimes just have to ask. And there's nothing wrong with it. I wouldn't be offended or anything as a therapist, so don't worry that you're going to upset them, okay? Question number 2. I've been on antidepressants for about 7 years, 5 years on Zoloft, 2 years on Cymbalta, originally due for depression due to a messy divorce, but continued for anger issues. Now this person goes on, it's actually a really long question where she's talking about all the different medications that she's been on. But the main question is, will I ever be able to get off antidepressants, and how? Is being on these drugs making me dependent on them? Yes, you'll be able to get off of them if your brain, because for any of you who don't know what an antidepressant is or where it works on our dopamine receptors and our serotonin receptors. And that's the most common. I'm sure there are other things, and different antidepressants will work on different areas because there's SSRIs and SNRIs, and we don't need to get into all of that. But oftentimes our brain will produce enough of these chemicals, the dopamine, the serotonin, these different receptors will get lit up or will go down depending on what we're struggling with, and the medication can help with that. Now, oftentimes, like I said, our brain will get up, it'll like start doing what it was supposed to do initially just because the antidepressant helped it. Other times it may not, and we may need to stay on an antidepressant for much longer. But then the second part of this question, she said, is being on these drugs and making me dependent on them? No, our brain doesn't get like lazy and because we've had medication in it for so long that it doesn't even remember how to produce something. However, I would be very, very, very cautious about putting yourself on more of something or taking yourself off of something without talking to your doctor. That being your psychiatrist, your general practitioner, whoever puts you on the medication, make sure you talk with them because it's really important. We can have withdrawal, which she talks about in this question, from just taking ourselves off of a medication. So I would definitely talk to your doctor, ask them. Also, maybe they'll have some pamphlets or some more information they can give to you so you can better understand. I know there's some great graphics. Ooh, I just bumped my elbow, made my camera shake. There's some great graphics showing the receptors and what an SSRI does and how it modulates the receptor. If you're interested in that kind of technical stuff, you can definitely Google that or take a look at it. To help you better understand that, no, your brain's not becoming dependent on it. Yes, you can get off of the medications, but don't do anything without talking to your physician, okay? Now, question number 3. I was wondering, at what age do you think that children should be taught about self-harm? What it is, why people do it, refute the misconceptions, etc. Also, what if you notice tendencies in a child that you fear might turn into self-harm? And in what way can you explain it to them without planting a seed in their brain? Thanks so much for your videos. I watch all the time. It depends on the child. I have had mothers that I've been seeing for an eating disorder, and I will talk to their children when they're maybe, like say it's a daughter, maybe she's like 9 or 10. Honestly, I have to meet the child to know. When you feel that your child has the ability to understand body image, to understand stress and anxiety, if they have any kind of way of recognizing that feeling, like they might say, "Oh, I just feel overwhelmed, Mom," or "I'm tired," and they can express it and realize that it's related to stress or something like that. I feel like at that point it's a good time, and they're able to understand mental health, if that makes sense. I kind of base it off of that, not the specific thing that's going on, but can they conceptualize mental health as a whole? Now, the way that I've explained self-harm or eating disorders to children is in very simplistic terms. And trust me, you're not going to plant a seed. You can talk about coping, and you can talk about healthy ways to cope. But you could say something to the effect of, like, if you're worried that your child is doing it, "Hey, honey, I notice sometimes you get stressed, you scratch yourself. Do you notice that you do that?" And just talking about it. They may not notice, they may notice. You can say, if they say, "Well, yeah," you can say, "Does it make you feel better when you do it? Is there a reason you do it? Is there something else we could try?" And you just talk it out with them. You don't need to say, "People do this because this." You will lose them. We have to keep it specific. You have to keep it exactly what you're seeing, doing, whether it's you that's doing it and you making notice of it and talking about it, or if it's them that you find doing it. Honestly, keeping it as short and simple as possible, I find to be best. So just be really clear with them. And if they always let them know, "Hey, honey, and if you ever have any questions about this, know that you can talk to me, okay? This is something that we'll talk about. We can always talk about." And you can even have time every week where you sit down and say, "So how have you been feeling this week? And how is the art crafts that you're doing, the coloring or whatever it is that's really helping them?" Just bringing it back up. So I think it's kind of opening the conversation, let him know it's not scary. It's not something we don't talk about. It's not embarrassing or shame-filled. Because the more that we do that, I honestly feel like the less they'll feel stigmatized in general, and the more apt they'll be to talk to you when things may get bad, right? So if anybody else has talked with your child about eating disorder, self-harm, anxiety, whatever it is, leave your comments below. Let us know what kind of worked for you, because every child is different, just as every adult is different, every person is different. And we want to make sure that we're spreading the word and that we're letting them feel comfortable and confident and okay to talk about it so that we can help them early on, right? Final question, question number 4. What would be the best way to handle being triggered by your best friend and when avoiding them isn't possible because of school? I get a lot of questions about this, about somebody that's in your life that you can't really get rid of is really, really triggering. And the tricky thing about this, like you said, is because you can't get away from them because school is going on. And the best possible way, if you can, is to talk to them. Now, don't use the word triggered, and don't, make sure you keep your terminology. It's funny because we're in this world, right? We talk about mental health a lot, we talk about eating disorders, self-harm, and the word triggered is very common. I find that other people who aren't in our therapeutic world like that get confused as to what that means. And the best way I find to describe it to someone, because we want to make sure we use I statements, right? I think I've talked about that very much, but when you talk to someone, you're kind of not confronting someone, but for lack of a better word, you are kind of confronting them on an issue. You don't want to use the term like, "You make me feel this. You did this, and so that's what that happened." We don't want to use those terms. It's much easier if we say something like, "The other day when you didn't say hi to me or you ignored me, I felt very hurt, and I know that I'm very sensitive, but it just really hurt my feelings," right? And it comes across very differently when we talk about it from our perspective. So if you have a friend who's triggering you and there's no way to get away from them, I would go to them and I would say, let's say Liz, because Liz is my best friend, right? So I'd say, "Hey Liz, the other day I found that when you mentioned how fat you were feeling in your jeans, because I have issues with my body, I found myself feeling very hurt, and I wondered if it's too much to ask if you could try not to say that stuff in front of me for a while." And then you could even say, "And I understand that I'm kind of difficult right now and I'm going through a lot, but you're my best friend and I love you, and it's just hard for me, and if you could help me out, that'd be really, really great." And just putting it on you. And I know that can be hard, and we're like, but it's not our fault, they're being a jerk. But sometimes in order to get what we need from someone, we have to ask in a way that doesn't make them defensive, It makes them understand, because that's what we're wanting to have happen, right? We want them to understand us and understand where we're coming from. So I would try something along those lines. And as always, if any of you have had this happen before and you've talked to a friend and there was certain phrasing you used that you found really, really helpful, leave it below in the comments and let me know. And before I forget, if any of you haven't added me to your Google Plus circles, please do that so you can comment. I can comment back. I see your comments right away and I can approve them. It just makes it a lot quicker. I don't know what YouTube's doing, but I'm finding those of you who've added me, I get your comments quick and I can even approve them on my phone. So, hey, for speediness. And if you have any questions about that, leave your comment below and we can help one another. If any of you see comments below, people are like, I don't understand Google Plus, what the heck is it? Let them know how to sign in and what it means. Because if you have a YouTube account, you have a Google Plus account, okay? And now the journal topic of the day. That was my drum roll. It made my camera shake. Ooh. This is from someone on Facebook, and she thought somebody else tweeted this out, and she thought it was such a great quote that it should be used as a journal topic, and I agree. So the quote is, never base your happiness on anything you can lose. Now, the person who gave this to me said, this made me think about the things that truly make me happy. I thought this would be a great journal topic idea, and people could make lists of their happy thoughts. And I agree, because there are things we don't have control over. Other people, in situations, jobs, school. Those are things we could potentially lose, right? Because if something happens, we don't always have control over the end product, right? But what do we have control over? Our own thoughts, our happy thoughts. So, make a list of happy thoughts you have today, things that you're grateful for, because we're getting close to Thanksgiving, right? So we're going to have to start thinking, what are we thankful for? And share them. Take pictures, tweet it to me, take pictures, put me in the comments of your Instagram at KatieMorton1, and let's share some positivity like we were doing on Twitter before with the quotes and stuff. I love those, and there are so many good ones. So yeah. Let's increase our positivity, okay? Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. I'm leaving tonight to go to Seattle, so I'll take some pictures and post them on Instagram. Let you know of where I'm at, and maybe my mommy will be on a video. She's probably watching this right now, and she's like, don't say that, Katie, don't. But she's really funny, and I hope that she'll be on so you guys can get to know her too. Okay, I love you all. I'll see you Monday. I have a regular scheduled video going out, and I'll try to vlog a little bit next week. But like I said, I'll be on vacation, so I kind of want to take some time for myself to recharge my batteries. I love you all. Have a good one. Bye.